I'm a junior in undergrad and my major is biology, specifically evolutionary biology.
So tell me a little bit about reading genres within your field.
So most of the readings we do in the biology major are from scientific journals. So basically, when you read a scientific journal, you have to have the basic understanding of like your critical thinking skills, statistics, and your common research methods.
What should be known about writing genres within your field?
So the styles of our writing vary from like what we're writing about. So we do a lot of lab notebook work. So our writing in our lab notebooks and our lab reports are a lot different than the research proposals we would write for grants. So it just varies between what type of science we're focusing on for that writing.
What should be known about conducting research within your field?
So research in a field like biology, it's scientific. So when you do an experiment, you put it in a scientific journal, and the experiment isn't considered true in like the scientific community until it's peer reviewed in that scientific journal. So credibility is a really important thing in science. If you don't have credibility, then nobody will take into account your experiment in the scientific community. So you have to have your primary sources, your secondary sources, and your mainstream sources.
What documentation system is standard in your field?
So in biology, there's no specific single citation style. So it just varies on the type of stuff you're working on, but usually we use APA or CSC.
Explain to me a little bit about ASHA journals.
So those are just scientific journals, and to keep it short and sweet, the most common ones are the Journal of Biology and the International Journal of Biological Sciences.
Great. What should someone expect to read in journal articles in your field?
Usually we just read basic scientific research. In labs, we read a lot about experiments and what those experiments sought out to prove in science. We also sometimes read medical journals that have to do with the medical field.
What types of research questions are usually asked in your field?
So the most important questions asked in our field are usually how you implement your experiments. So a lot of questions about the scientific method, and of course questions of your credibility. Usually when you read a scientific journal, the author of the journal usually has like their schooling and their degrees, everything at the top. So
I like that.
you know.
What special vocabulary is important to know in your field?
So in a scientific journal, there are a lot of words that it just all sounds like scientific mumbo jumbo. So what I'm doing is I'm taking Latin actually right now, so that when I go into med school, a lot of scientific roots stem from Latin. So prefixes and suffixes are easier to understand when you have a basic understanding of the Latin language. So a lot of just understanding the words used in your field is knowing the language that they use and where it comes from.